So I was asked to put together a quick video showing how to add a class, and I'm still learning this myself. A couple of things may look different as a training center coordinator, but the first thing I do is I go to classes. So I click on classes, and then I go down to classes I teach. When I click on that, it takes a moment. This is a little sluggish, but it will then show eventually the classes that you are set up to teach. Okay, finally, there we are. And these are all other classes. And then over here on the right near the top, it's add a class. And from there, you can begin to add your class. And I'm going to assume I'm going to do, let's say, a BLS renewal class. So I click that. The class format. Okay, so the class format, you can choose classroom, which is traditional, where you show the videos in the classroom and the students do it, or you can do blended learning, which is when they do the heart code and then bring you the certificate and you do the shortened classroom version of it. So I'm just going to say classroom for now. And the language, you always have to choose a language. And I wish I could set that as default, but it's set for English. Now the exam type, there is a way to do exams online where you purchase them online and then the students take them online. I just stick with the traditional paper test, so it's offline. Um, the card, the only choice we have is digital for proof of completion, and there's no purchase code. Now, I'm going to make this a private class because I don't want the public to see this. So I'll click on a private class. Then I come down to the training location. Now you have to put a location in. And I'm going to go ahead and search for EMS because I want Northwest Shoals EMS department. If you don't have the location, if it's a new location, you'll have to add the location. Then I pick the number of seats. I'm just going to say 6. And it's not going to be a reoccurring classroom. I'm only going to do it one time. And let's say I'm going to do it today. Today is the 26th of June. And I'm going to start it at, let's say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I find the time and I select the time. And it's going to let me know if there's any available instructors or not. And hopefully that will pop up as yes. Interestingly, if you try to schedule 2 classes at the same time, you may not be allowed to do that. Now, the withdrawal cutoff date and the enrollment deadline, this is if people can sign up outside of the class. So if they search through American Heart, see your class, and want to sign up, you can set a cutoff date for dropping the class, which is the withdrawal cutoff date, and you can set an enrollment deadline. So if you want to schedule a class and then maybe 3 days before, see if anybody has signed up. If not, cancel it. You can do that, whatever you want to do with the enrollment deadline. For an instructor, and this is where I have things a little bit different as I get to see everybody. So I'm going to scroll down to me. And if you had a secondary instructor, you could do the supporting instructor. Now the price is up to you. I always leave it blank. Unless I were to set up a class in the public that I know the college wanted to charge for. Now this I always forget, but the enrollment model. So it can auto-enroll or approval-based. Auto-enroll means as soon as somebody signs up or you type them in, they are enrolled. Approval-based means they see your class online, they send you an email through the system, and then you have to approve them to take the class. So I usually do auto-enroll. I don't do any post-enrollment URL, but if you wanted to send them to a website or a video or something, you could put that in there. And then when they enroll, that should be sent to them to go and view. If there's something that you want them to do, you can type in the task name and the description. And then the material included. This is if you include any of the materials. Remember, all students are supposed to have a provider manual made available to them before, during, and after the class for reference. So if you're going to provide that, I click that, and then whether you can do the manual one or the ebook, we'll just say manual one. Your contact information, this is not necessary, but I'm going to do it just in case somebody were to have a question, and then any notes that you want about the class. After that, I click Create, and this will have created my class in Atlas. Now, me as a training center coordinator, if I go in there and look, I can see it, but hopefully it'll also show up on your classes I teach. Again, this is a little sluggish. There's a lot of people trying to do things. So if I were to now search for that class, again, very sluggish right now. I'm hoping this will improve as the system gets its kinks worked out. I'm going to go ahead and just search for me, so I don't want you to see everybody's class, so you can see what my classes are. And this is some of the worst, as long as it takes. So here's the class that I just set up. And when I go to finish the class, I go to Actions, these three little dots here on the right side, and then I can view and edit. And at this point, I can add students. So let's say I'm going to add a student, and I'm going to say Todd, and the last name is Oyen. I have to use a different email. This is one thing that you will have to get used to, is every person must have their own unique email. So let's say I'll do my iCloud. Now, that email cannot be used again. So if I had a second student and I wanted to send it to the same email, I'm told you cannot do that. So let's try that. So there I am, and I've been invited. Now, in theory, this is supposed to send this Todoin at iCloud.com an email, and then the student will go in and approve it and do any of the tasks that are required. So if I want to add another student, let me do this, and I have just out of curiosity, let's see what happens when I do my same email. And I add the student. Oh, I already exist. I can't do that. So I have to add a different email. I'll warn her that I am doing this, so she's not too worried about it, and I don't think she minds me putting her email out there. And we'll add her, and I got that one added. So in a moment here, there should be two people popping up when this refreshes. Well, when you're done with the class and you have everybody registered that you want to add, you will finalize the roster. There we go. And so I finalize the roster. Oh, and it can't be because the class is not started yet. So at the end of class, I'll have to finalize the roster. And I'll have to show you what to do after 3 o'clock. So now that class is done, and let me tell you that Todd did an amazing job teaching that class. um, you need to finalize the roster. So you click on Finalize the Roster, and then it's going to ask you, are you sure? Because once you do this, you can't add or subtract any students. And I went ahead and took my wife out of it, so you're dealing with just me and the class. And I finalized the roster, and it says insufficient inventory. And you're going to get that. The reason it says insufficient inventory is you do not have any cards in your instructor inventory. So what we are doing now is we are letting you pre-purchase cards. So if you want to buy 10, 15 cards to have in your inventory, you can do that ahead of time. They'll be in your inventory, and then you can assign from there. So I'm going to pause the video, go assign myself a card, and then we'll finish assigning this to the student. So now that Instructor Todd has been assigned a few cards from Training Center Todd, we can finalize the roster. So when we click on finalizing the roster, it'll ask me, yes, do we want to finalize the roster? And click on yes, and then it says roster has been finalized. Yay! Now what you have to do at this point is send the exam and send, and it's going to ask you how you want it sent. Sometimes you can download the latest version of the exam from there. And once you have sent the exam, it assumes that student Todd has taken the test. So view and edit the student, and then the final exam score. And Instructor Todd did such an awesome job that student Todd got 100 on it. And then what day did you do the skills check off? Well, to me, this is kind of silly. We always do it the day of the class, but you may do it on 2 different times, or they might need to be remediated and come back and do it another day. But Todd did such a good job that we checked him off on the 26th, and then we update. So at this point, it has updated, and it's not showing the exam results. I think this is a bit of a glitch that it has had. So let's try this one more time to view and edit, and then the final exam score, we'll say 100, and we'll update. and it says updated successfully for Todd Oyen. So it should, if everything works, then show my exam results there as passed, and it is not. So even though this seems to have glitched and the exam results are not uploaded, not showing here, this should be a green pass. Um, I did check the inventory and a card had been assigned to the toddoyen at iCloud.com, and it is already showing claimed. Now I find that interesting because I never received an email at that email address saying to claim a card. However, if we go to the eCard Verify site, and I'll include the link with the email, you can check there and students can claim their cards there. So at some point, I hope they get the email system fixed. Um, there is a clunky workaround where they have to claim their own cards by going to a website, but hopefully they'll get that fixed someday. I have notified American Heart about it, as I suspect just about every instructor in North America has let them know. Um, as soon as I know that that gets fixed, I will let everybody know. Otherwise, this is how you assign the cards. Again, you will have to pre-purchase cards, but you'll have them in your inventory. And once you teach a class, they'll be automatically assigned once you go into the actions, 3 buttons on the right side here at the bottom, and update their skills checkoff date and their exam results. So hopefully it's a little bit easier. There are still ways to go back and update and change students. So if we make a mistake with a name or an email or something, we can, I think, fix that. So I hope this helps.